Ready? Bought a brand new hat, 43 years old. Stinks like mold, but it's got heaps of soul. Found a really cool bag, indigenous, I think. Who would know you could make up anything? You could make up anything. Shop till you drop. Got a funky dress, the rayon and polyester makes it clean. Got a shiny, slick, synthetic sheen. Shop till you drop. Blue collar dream, a special bargain machine. Line up, sift through, find a gem in the paraphernalia, in the dream, and the dream. Third hand, excellent. Fourth hand, intelligent. It's sustainable. Shop till you drop. It's inflammable. Shop. One man's junk. Shop till you drop. Is another man's finest love. Carrie didn't make it cool. It's always been my intention to shop at the op shop, find a find, share and share alike. Shop at the op shop shopping. Shop at the op shop shopping.
G'day, you mob. How's it going? Fun times. Apart from BJ, bruised everywhere. Need closure on that. Oh, another fall, BJ. Unfortunate. Bruised. As long as you're only bruised and not broken, meds will sort you out. James Hukulak, another first cab off the rank for James, earning or meriting or deserving another huge bucket of kudos in the post. Maybe as the more hearts amass, the buckets get bigger each time. That's solid motivation to get in quick, isn't it? Cheers. Corvus Oskin, second in the chat. He just gets kudos for showing up. Huawei, love you too. We always wonder what name Joel is going to come in as. He's as unpredictable as a broken fence. It's another one of my interestingly inapt metaphors. Well, babyface Bren in the chat. G'day, Bren. How's it going? Oh, I should probably sling you a link as well so you can pop up. Kat Mackenzie, how are you? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Pardon me. I generally turn my head for those burps because I'm not quite sure how loud they're going to be. They might peak out or something. New local Austin, g'day mate. The August heat benefits me, one extra viewer, because Austin has to stay up late and sweat. Where am I up to? I think I got everyone out the way. Two Dougs. G'day, Doug and Doug. Joe Stan, how's it going? It's been a few weeks since I've seen your avatar. I was going to say face, but I suppose your avatar's got three faces in it. I'm surprised I could pick that up with my dodgy eyes. My old man failing eyes. How's the down under Blacky, Sweaty, and Harry? Definitely not sweaty. It's bloody cold. Cold here today. It's nice and, well, there's a few puffy white clouds. Cumulonimbuses or whatever you call them. In the sky, and the wind is what makes it super cold. Very chilly southerly winds, I think. Can't quite see. I can't see my weather vane from here. Yeah, Joe Stan, you'll have to confirm what you meant by that. Does Harry mean hairy? So, you're so sweaty, right? Yeah. And hairy. Yeah. Yeah, sweating's one of the hardest things when it's terrible and humid. It's one of the hardest things to do is get to sleep, or even get to some level of sound sleep. It's a very, very difficult hurdle to overcome when one is trying to achieve somnolence, or whatever that word is. You don't got aircon, Joe Stan. Or 17 fans pointed at your bed in all sorts of different directions. Yeah, that aircon is a blessing, because I'm a terrible sweater in bed. If I need it, I need it, and I'll chuck it on. We might have someone willing to pop on screen any second, which looks like, yeah, that seemed like a solid indication. A big cheesy grin generally means, yes, let's do it.
Hello.
Z-Beam, how are you today, sir?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I took it easy on the booze last night and woke up early after waking up early yesterday morning.
Smart move.
Two interesting days in a row for someone like me who likes a bit of a drink in the nighttime.
Yep.
But yeah, I had a pretty rough weekend on it, so I went easy Monday, Tuesday nights. I think I went easy Sunday night too.
You think?
Didn't. Yeah, that's probably not a good sign, is it? Yeah, no, I think I was forced to go easy on Sunday night because Saturday night was a bit hectic. Yeah, tell us what you've been up to, because I got a couple of links that I need to copy and paste.
Yeah,
I forgot to send two out. I hope I sent one to Joel.
I went up to Pacific Fair yesterday with a friend in his nice Lexus 4B, and Emma and a friend of ours, Lily, came up with us as well. So it was pretty fun. Been mall rats for the day.
It's been a while since you've done that.
Yeah, haven't rocked up to a mall with friends since I was in high school. It was quite fun, actually.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah, it was good
Buy
fun.
useless shit and go and hang out in the food court and eat terrible food.
Oh, it was all good. We purchased some fabulous bits of technology and books and stuff. Nice smelly things, and had some delicious Japanese Wagyu beef bowls. It was awesome.
What? Meatballs, did you say?
Oh, bowls, meat
Oh,
bowls.
bowls.
Yeah,
Right.
Wagyu beef, sliced Wagyu beef with yakitori sauce and some gyoza. It was very nice.
G'day, Pam. How's it going? Yeah, I haven't been to Pack Fair for a long time.
It's pretty good.
And that's pretty close to the casino, isn't it? So you can have a day out in the shops and then go and lose some more money in the casino.
No,
Isn't it
it's
close?
better losing money on solid purchases rather than gambling.
G'day, Sky Dancer. How are you? What else?
There's things, but I can't disclose them.
Say no more.
Yeah, I gotta keep it tight to my chest.
We released myself and Babyface Bren released our first episode of our new show on his YouTube channel on Sunday morning.
Nice.
It was good fun. It's a good fun show to do. We were going to have our second one done by now, but Bren's been a bit crook, so we've had to slow down the process a bit.
Okay.
So it might still come out around the weekend, the second episode. Another quality episode of Comedy Bang Bang to rehash.
Nice.
Yeah, Joseph, I always say only gamble with what you can afford to lose, and I can't afford to lose any money, so I just don't gamble. When I used to have a habit of gambling, I did lose a lot of money. Terrible, terrible stuff. But yeah, like you say, it's fine as an entertainment if you say I'm only going to lose $100 today, and then that's what you do. Unfortunately, most people don't have that impulse control to slow down their gambling habits. Well, let's get someone else's opinion on gambling. Shana, na, na, na. How are you, love?
Hey, I'm not sure if I'm lagging or frozen. It's my computer's doing super weird stuff.
You're certainly lagging a little bit. And your green screen is probably slowing your computer down a bit, but I understand your need to have those fish up as your background. They're your new favorites, aren't they?
It's a whole thing. Like, how do I get out of the frame? I'm too frozen in frame to even. Oh, I was going the wrong way. Let me fix it. Give me 1 sec.
How long since your computer's been restarted?
Oh gosh, like a month?
Oh shit!
Do I need to do I have to close all my windows?
Sometimes your computer keeps what you've got open. I'm not sure if it will.
I have like everything open.
That may be a contributing factor.
Okay, hold on. Frantically closing. So if I disappear, it's because I closed the wrong window.
Yeah, I used to always recommend that people restart their routers and their computers before they do a live stream. But, I seldom follow that advice myself.
Well, I don't even know how to restart a router. Unless it's unplug it, plug it back in.
Yeah, I just switch it off at the wall and switch it back on again, mate. We'll see how she goes upon her return. G'day, Skipper. How are you, mate? Good to see you back. Man saving lives every day of his life. Z-Beam's up to something interesting. I thought
Emma's rinsing some stuff in the laundry. I'm just careful of the sound because it's right behind the wall in my study.
I was kind of waiting for you to lean over a little bit and drop your guts. Somehow I think you're a wee bit too civilized for that kind of behaviour.
It always comes back to the toilet humor.
It's in the description, man. Juvenile something or other.
Yeah.
Pardon me. All right, let's see what this dude's doing in waiting for Shanna to fix her stuff.
What are you doing?
Hello.
Waiting.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, boys.
Howdy ho.
Where did the chat go? I lost the chat. Oh, here it is. I have to find the chat. Guys, you know, I was doing the dishes and I was like, oh, it's 8:01. When did this fiasco begin? Oh my god, like 15 minutes ago? I'm late.
Yeah, about 10 to the hour.
I'm late because you started early. Okay, I see how it is.
Yeah, I did
I see how it is. I put in the chat a show of hands. A show of hands for who wanted to start early, and we just started early. I'm coming down there for fisticuffs.
I'll be ready.
You started early. You know?
I started doing push-ups again, so you know I'll be ready by the time you swim over.
Oh, good.
G'day, fishing on. How's it going?
I'm gonna do what's a good stroke whilst swimming? The butterfly?
No, you're gonna get tired way too quick doing the butterfly. You're gonna have to do
what's the one where you go like kind of like a frog?
Breaststroke.
Is that just breast underwater? Keeping that going? Yeah, I could do that one.
You'd want to do. I reckon you'd want to do combinations of breaststroke and backstroke,
and then back. Yeah, and then back. Yeah, I could do that. And then what's the side one? What's that side one called?
Have a guess.
What's that side one called? I'm thinking
side stroke.
I'm thinking it's mud skipper stroke, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I think I'm correct. Yeah.
I know. We'll agree to disagree.
So one's the boob stroke, one's the back stroke, and one's the side stroke. What is it when you put your legs when you put your arms just flat straight to your side like a torpedo and then just kick your feet really, really fast?
Aquaman.
Is that Aquaman? Is that the Aquaman? Hello, I'm Aquaman. I always thought Aquaman would have like a British accent, but now we've got Jason Momoa as grunty Aquaman.
Yeah.
I think it would have been so much better if he kept his Polynesian accent, but I think he's completely lost it and just speaks American accent now anyway, doesn't he?
I don't think he has a Polynesian accent. I've met him in person. I've met him in person twice, and he didn't have a Polynesian accent. This is when he was in Stargate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think he's been over there long enough.
And here's the thing: when I met him, then I thought he was famous because he was on Stargate with MacGyver, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, you know MacGyver? Like, oh my god, bro! Like that's crazy.
I'm one step away from what was his name? Bloody MacGyver.
Yeah.
I can't even remember his real name.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. He was super nice when I met him. He was a super nice dude. I don't know. Maybe he's not nice now, but I doubt it. He's probably the same guy.
G'day, DD. I think I said hi to Fishymon, didn't I? Have a second one, mate. They're free. Oh, let's try this again as well.
Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, you're broadcasting yourself on green screen. Now people can do whatever they want with your image.
I had the back thing up, but then everything went to crap, so I turned it all off and restarted so there wouldn't be any more tomfoolery. And now it's just going to be like...
Why don't you try putting your green screen on? Or have you already tried it
offline? The trick to having a good background is just to have a bunch of Home Depot boxes on the ground behind you. That's how people know. They're like, well, this guy must be a professional interneter. He's got Home Depot boxes in the back, right?
Maybe it'll work.
It's working.
You see you're doing super sick killy fish?
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice photo of them, too. I like how the male's sort of turning towards the camera a bit. Like, what are you looking at?
They're
Oh,
always generally.
he spends all day, every day, running up the sides of the tank, fighting with his reflection, and then spawning with his girl, and then fighting. He's just like bro at the beach, fully like hulked up, roided out, beast mode killifish.
Oh, I'm gonna take a second to say hi to everyone that said hi to me. That's it, though. I'm not naming names. That's it.
That's my job.
I read all
G'day,
of them.
Scuba
though.
Steve.
Oh, hey! Yesterday on stream, I have gifted subs now. That got enabled apparently. Finally.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So people can, instead of super chatting, you can just buy bulk memberships, and then it just gives memberships to people, so they can be a member for a month.
Oh, as in your subscribers can buy memberships for other subscribers.
Well, anybody. You don't even have to be subscribed. You just have to likely have a credit card or whatever. That's it. It's a revelation. We're moving into the 20th century here. Someday we'll be in the 21st century, and we'll all just scream with glee.
One day we'll slowly slide out of the Iron Age.
Yeah. Yeah. One day we'll get out of here. We'll get into what came after the Iron Age? Was it bronze or silver?
The polyethylene age.
Polyethylene, straight plastics.
Bronze was before iron.
Was bronze before?
Absolutely.
When was the brass age?
No such
Before
thing.
bronze.
Brass was
There
before
was
bronze.
one,
What about copper? When was copper?
Copper was the early.
Copper was
phase.
earlier. When was the
Yeah.
golden age? The
The
30s?
golden age was
It was 1981.
1981 was the golden age?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing
Not
you're
because
40.
that's the year I was born.
Yeah, I'm guessing that you're 41 then, right? Yeah.
That's correct. Look at the maths on you.
Let's see. What is that generation? That's the cusp generation.
I think I'm a Gen Xer, but like I've also been told I'm a millennial, and it's all over the place.
No,
Yeah, I think
it's the
Gen X
it's
is 86 or something, isn't it? It finishes.
No, the cusp generation is it's 77 or what is it? It's like 77 to 83, I think.
Dude,
Or
The
something like
cusp.
that.
always tell me I'm not unique and special, and I'm like, yes, I am. Now I got proof.
No, so a Gen X millennial cusper born in 1979 may, in fact, remember a time before their family had a microwave, but they had an email account by the time they reached college. Yeah, because
That's me.
because people that were born at that age, we are on the cusp generation, so we actually don't have a real defined generation. Because generations are basically they're based on these like huge societal changes or whatever, right? And through a time period, but we're from a weird period that's like, yeah, you sort of experienced all of it. You experienced before technology really took over, and you were here the whole time technology came to be, which is also the point that I have to constantly make to like boomers when they're like, well, I don't know, you young guys, you understand, you like understand the emails and the Facebooks and stuff, and you're like, you were an adult when it came out also. Like we lived in the same world. It's not like you were teleported here from the 40s or something. What are you talking about? It's like you could have very well learned some of this stuff as it was being introduced. But you were too busy wearing tight pants and doing cocaine and all
Being
that in the
neophyte.
80s. And you were like, computers are for nerds and don't learn computers. Don't learn computers, you moron. Get outside and play t-ball. And you're like,
Meanwhile, Bill Gates' dad was like, hey, sport, you want a computer? Look where he's at now.
Exactly. The Yale education and being from a very affluent family, that probably helped also. I would.
I mean, a little, probably.
You know,
Kind
they
of.
started out in a garage plus like $500,000 loan in the early
bet it
late
was
70s. Yeah.
Bet it was a 3-door garage.
You know what's
Well,
crazy is that like, you know, guys like Bill Gates, you know, they have the whole story of, and Jeff Bezos is the same way. It's like, I started in a garage with a small $300,000 loan from my parents, you know,
yeah,
and it's like,
yeah,
you mean
yes.
you mean a $300,000 gift from your parents, you know? I mean, come on. You know, and if we're talking about like leveling the playing field, like give me a $500,000 zero interest, not really have to pay it back loan, and let's see where we're both at in 20 years, right?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
let's see how it goes, Bezos. Give me the money, and then we'll see. I'll start
It'll be
Jamazon. I'll start Jamazon, Joel's Amazon. I'll call it Jamazon, and we'll be all squiggly doo. We bring you fresh meats, and we stick them in
And
your mouth.
everything is 3 cents cheaper than Amazon. Always.
Yeah,
We
always,
deliver
regardless.
1 hour faster than Amazon. We're not great, but we suck less than them.
Yeah, I wonder how often Bezos and Bill Gates, you know, give interest-free loans to people just to try and foster their businesses and stuff, get people started the way they were.
Well, the
Squeezed
interesting thing
into it.
is they do a lot of that work in third world countries where like the money is desperately needed and it's like smaller amounts, more widely distributed. But like the whole idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps or like, you know, work hard, save your money, and you'll end up living the American dream isn't quite like when I was a kid, they told us that if you go to college, you'll get a good job.
Hmm. Yeah, we're all
Milo.
told that.
Milo went to college. He got a good job as a punk rock singer.
Nice.
Milo O'Shea.
Milo Ackerman.
I don't know who that is.
He's the lead singer of the Descendants.
If they had told me I could be a punk rock singer and the lead singer in a band if I went to college, I probably would have gone. Somebody should have thought of that.
It's all about the right motivation.
Did you not go to any punk scene things when you were a teenager?
Oh, we had, I don't know how it is compared to other places, but to me, it seemed like the coolest place ever. We had the Paris Theater and like live punk shows and mosh pit. Like,
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like my little brother, who is like 6'3", and I we'd link arms and then do that thing where you spin and jump and they swing you and you just run your feet along everybody's head and then you land and you use that momentum to swing them. Yeah. Like I super glued more head shut and lost more shirts to bloodstains than like I ever could have imagined. It was a lot of fun.
Because the banter at our Australian punk scene stuff was just off its head. Like it was very educated. It was almost too educated. Like the woke factor in the Australian scene is just off its tits. We got so many straight edges, and I remember my first encounter with someone who identified as a straight edger, and then having a conversation with them, and then running from them in a, you know, we're all talking, and then this pro-lifer, and I'm like, wow, okay, you're a different breed. Telling me condoms are murder and stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
Whoa.
one of the things that like I've always, I guess like if people haven't been exposed to other cultures, like you just kind of don't know what they are, right? And like one of the reasons that I was always into like sort of, I guess like divergent or whatever you want to call it, like music scenes and stuff like punk and industrial and like just heavy metal and stuff like that, you know, is that most of the cultures like existed there, right? You know, from the worst to the best, you know, and you know, that's one of the reasons why I spend so much time like hanging out with those people and stuff. Is like I'd like to get other perspectives, and it's like, but if I went to go, you know, if I went out with like the football club, it's like these are all affluent kids, right? Like when I played like pretty high level. I don't know if you guys call it soccer or what down there, but I played soccer for a long time. And but like almost all the kids, on the team were like, yeah, they all had a roof over their head and both of their parents and blah 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 blah, and like there just really wasn't all that like. Is there any diversity here? It's like, yeah, sure, there was, different ethnicities, but there really wasn't that many different backgrounds because it was all suburban kids, right?
Different
so it's
shades
like,
of white.
yeah, it's just yeah, exactly. It's just different shades of white. It's like, and it's hard to explain to somebody without sounding like a total asshole. But it's like it's like one of the Asian kids, right? That was on the team. He just happened to be an Asian kid. But his dad owned like a food distributing company, right? You're like, you're doing fine. Like it's all good, baby. It's like, and he didn't, it's not like he only spoke Vietnamese or whatever, right? Like he was just an American kid that just happened to be Asian or whatever. But, it's like you could go to an industrial show and it's like, wait a minute, there are people that only speak German here for some reason. Like, what is going on? Like, where did these guys come from? Like, it's like, oh, we came to see the band. We came to hear the music, and you're like, all right, well, what are you guys doing? It's like, but you're not necessarily going to run into that just being like hyper insulated with your activities. But it's like, and it's hard to explain that in a way that like makes sense to somebody who's just like, well, I live in Kentucky and everybody I meet in Kentucky is just a guy who drives a truck around, and that's pretty much the embodiment of their personality, right?
Yeah. G'day, Kiwi Marmo and Mark Stirlson. How are we?
Oh, hi, Mark. I did not hit her.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with Mark Stirlson. Is it your first time, Mark? I apologize if it's not your first time and I've just forgotten the name.
It might be new. They might be new. Are they new?
They might be
New to
giants.
this stream, but not new to the YouTubers. I'm well acquainted with Mr. Stirls.
Oh,
Fair enough. Jerome,
we're getting some kind of outside advertising, and now people are showing up to your weird show here. And what are we supposed to do about it? Are we supposed to spoil all of the Sandman episodes? I've only seen episode 4.
Ooh.
Why not? I have to admit, I'm trying to savor the flavor because that show is dope. Neil Gaiman's a hell of a writer, and I've always appreciated his work. But it definitely goes to show when the writer has some involvement in the production, where they're like, "Hey, we respect your work. Can you give us a couple pointers here on how we're adapting it? What do you think? Is this looking right to you? What do you think?" And he's like, "Oh, well, hey, I maybe change this, maybe change that," and they're like, "Word, we'll do that. It sounds good," and they'll just run with it, yeah, you get the feeling that he was on set nonstop for that show.
It seems like he was. It seems like I don't think he was there nonstop, but he was there for the casting. I know because I saw him post that he was there for the casting, so he was like helping choose who was like personifying the roles well. And I know that like a lot of idiot conservatives are like, "Oh my god, they've gone woke with the casting and lost their minds." And it's like, yeah, but that's not the case here. Like, I understand that like that has happened, right? Like, honestly, if you did Taika Waititi plays Hitler, right? That's kind of woke casting there a little bit, right? But
it works.
That's not the deal. That's not the deal here at all. That's definitely not the case.
Come on, they could have found a better goth for Death. Like, that's my only gripe.
Well, in Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Death was like this super pale white dude and tall and lanky and stuff. So I didn't mind the Death. I thought she was more about the attitude of
right.
Death, not necessarily a personification, but she understood it.
I think that that's the reality, is that like the writer has influence on like this person is personifying the character that I think the character I wrote, right? Because when you, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a screen test or anything like that, but you go in and you read and and you do all that kind of stuff. And nowadays you actually just send in a tape. Like oftentimes, like almost all of it comes in a tape, and then they pick sort of the best from the tapes, and then those people come in person, and then it's like, what kind of vibe can you bring in this room? Like, do you know? And maybe all of the tall, pale, lanky dudes were just so emo that they just couldn't possibly act like death. Right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like that he was just like, I don't know, it's not working. It's just not.
Certainly
you know.
streamlines the process instead of having lines of hundreds of people reading for a part.
Right. And then also everyone coming into a room and then just being like told no to their
Super-
face. Like,
or super
okay, we're
spreaders.
just going to need you to clear out now, sir. Can you just go out that door? Okay, good. We're good now. Okay. Yep. Nope. All the way out the door.
Shit, mental note, when you're doing a live stream, plug the power into your computer.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is
That
a
sounds like-
key pointer. I had to look for my power cord frantically. I was like, oh man, what did I do with it? Where did I put it? It was in the bag that I shoved under my bed, which
Right.
makes lots of sense, right?
Yeah.
The American Gods was fantastic as well. I haven't read the graphic novel, but the TV show was brilliant.
There was a book. It wasn't a graphic novel.
Oh, it was a
yes.
book, was it?
Yeah.
I'm
And,
currently
Good Omens,
trying
that was
to
choice.
It
I'm
might be
currently
a-
trying to get another YouTuber that that doesn't have anything to do with the Fish Fam, to try and do a podcast with me, so we can trash talk the Wheel of Time in a real cohesive manner. Because that show's a dumpster fire of just badness all around.
Yeah, I'm not
I
going
enjoyed
near
it.
it. No.
I enjoyed it. Like both of yous. One for each of yous.
Have you read the book?
No, that's
No.
why I enjoyed it. We've had this discussion a billion times.
Right.
Or are you talking
Yeah,
to
my wife's
Silverman?
read it. And
The
I just
strategy is to see the movie.
Even from a
first,
standpoint,
'cause then you can
even-
like the movie, and then you get the book, which is a huge bonus, so much better. Oh my gosh, I
No.
can't believe it. If
no,
you do it the other way,
No.
it's trash.
no, it's not. You can adapt writing. The Sandman is a perfect example. Like you can adapt American Gods. You can adapt writing and do a great job of it. The Lord of the
there's
Rings.
other
The
things
whole
that
Lord
I
of the
don't
Rings
think-
series. The whole Lord of the
What
Rings
about
series is like
Dune?
18 hours long of adapted from a book, right?
Hmm.
Oh my god, my daughter's here. It's my daughter. Come here, Bear. Come say hi to these weirdos.
Oh
Hello.
Hi.
Special
how's it
visitor.
going?
Special visitor OJ.
Okay.
What are you saying? Just talk normal. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Hello.
How are you
Olivia?
doing?
Can
We
you-
are talking.
I'm gonna sing ABCD's quiet.
You're gonna sing ABC's quiet?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
So quiet.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, U, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, now, next time I'm keeping happy.
I will sing with you next.
Yay.
Good job, dude. Stand up.
Well done.
Take a big hug and a kiss.
No.
Big tight.
Good night.
We'll get him. Whoa. It's on the loose. Got to watch out. Olivia's on the loose, folks.
She's going to be 5 foot tall before you know it.
it.
She is going to be tall. She's going to be tall before we know it.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Leapfrog.
army crawl.
Army
It's
crawl.
like army
Oh,
crawling.
she's army crawling out the door.
Okay.
Never too young to start training.
Yeah, you got to train. You got to train for your power. Oh, 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 oh. Sounds like Grandpa's going to bed too. So
Apparently she's quite cute, according to the chat.
well, she's epically cute. Yeah,
G'day,
unfortunately.
Vinovsky. How you going? I think I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, so the point I was making earlier is that like you can adapt writing. I mean, even the old Dune, right? Even the old Dune did a pretty good job adapting from the
so
books.
bad.
What?
When I was a little kid, my dad told me he'd give me $50 in the 80s to stay awake through it. Not even with the Coke.
To stay awake through what?
Dune.
Okay.
Oh, Dune, right. Yeah, right. I thought you said Doom, the video game.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I would have been worse than that.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, okay, if I guess you don't like Dune, which is fine. I don't care. People have tastes, right? Here you go. Gone with the Wind, okay? When was Gone with the Wind made? In the 40s, the 30s?
1939, I believe it was released
was it
in the
39?
movie theaters.
Just
Release-
a quick
the release
question. Have
date-
the kids left the room?
Release
Is there
date was
anyone-
1940, right? So the release date
Right.
was 1940, and it was 4 hours long, okay? And it was a movie epic, and everybody won whatever award or whatever the heck they did. So, Gone with the Wind, you could adapt writing filmed in 1939, released in 1940. You could do it back then, but you can't do it now. You can't. It's not possible now.
Intermission. Bring back intermission, and you got your 4-hour movies, no problem. But without the
Yeah.
intermission, no deal. No.
Well, hey, but if you have a 10-episode run on Amazon that is an
Yeah.
hour-long episode every time, you have 10 hours to adapt a book.
But you can pause it then. You've got to.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
No
back then,
problem.
they adapted a book in a 4-hour movie. They adapted Gone with the Wind, which, by the way, it seems like they hit every point in that stupid book. But
That's why it was 4 hours long. They basically did the whole book.
But I'm saying with 10 hours now, you have 10 episodes or even 8 episodes that are all an hour long. You can't adapt a book. Like, it's absurd. It's absurd to me. Like, it makes no sense.
The first season was just the first book, wasn't it?
It's like, it's not even the first book. They just made up a bunch of stuff that didn't happen. And under the guise of like, well, we didn't want the book readers to be bored. And you're like, what do you mean be bored? Like,
We just want them pissed off instead.
yeah, we're all pissed. And by the way, like from the standpoint of like, even if you haven't read the books, it's full of all sorts of plot holes already that don't make any sense. That make no sense whatsoever. If you sat down and like wrote out what happened in every episode, it's like, wait a minute, you spoiled your own episode from the season 1. Like you've already like. So one of the things that happens in the first season is that a completely untrained magic user, Nynaeve, heals somebody from dying, which, by the way, never happens in the books because it is an impossibility for the magic to heal someone who is dead. The magic system denies that being a possibility, right? But it happens in season 1 of stupid Amazon adaptation, right? From somebody who's completely untrained, right? So they have all of these people in the tower, the Aes Sedai, who have apparently gone through all of this magic training to do all of this stuff. But Egwene and Nynaeve, who have had zero training whatsoever, one of them heals somebody from the dead, and the other one defeats an entire army of like 20,000 bad guys with no training. So why bother ever going through the training process, which is a big part of the books? Because becoming somebody who can use magic is extraordinarily difficult. You don't just fall out of a tree and bump your head on the way down and then, oh, look at me, I'm a wizard. So, yeah.
So, have you read the comics of Sandman, didn't you?
Like a long, I don't know when, but it's very spotty my memory of the Sandman.
The old original ones from the 1939, I think.
Yeah, from 1939. Yeah.
1939. I remember getting one when I was a teenager of Sandman. I think it was The Doll's House Part 2. I could only find that one, but I remember getting it when I was like 13 because it had titties, and Rose got, a bit of a lame fabric over titties, and I was like really excited. I had a comic book with titties in it, which is like adult comics. I was like, this is really cool. This is tasteful. This isn't porn. This is really good. And then when I watched the series, when Rose got revealed, I was just like, no, she's not going to get her titties out. This is disappointing. So that annoyed me. It was a little bit too woke. Like I gotta say.
Yeah, I had Brett over here the other day, and he went right through the history of the Sandman stuff. I was overwhelmed with all the Sandman information.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's quite a bit to it. And I admittedly I haven't followed on and like gone back to it and haven't thought about it that much because it's an old graphic novel and back then like I read tons and tons and tons of like graphic novels and crap like that, and it just kind of like it's a thing that existed and was like, all right, yeah. And I wasn't too like deeply enchanted by it, but also at the same time, like my walk away with things isn't like, oh, I saw titties in a graphic novel. I mean,
that's a valid walk away. You can add stuff to that and still have it there, like not mutually exclusive from other takeaways. You could be like, hey, this is really in-depth writing and boobies.
Yeah.
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 I'm just saying I didn't have the same teenager experience of exclusively losing my mind about seeing some boobs in a graphic novel. It was already fairly norm for me by that point.
He didn't even have magical powers when he first came out. It was more of a gritty noir detective story,
right?
And then he got camp with the evolution of the Batman TV show and all of that camp stuff. His outfit got sort of crazied up a bit, and the little kiddies. Have you met the little kid yet who dresses up in a Sandman outfit? That was a tribute to the 60s episodes or books, comics, whatever you want to call them.
So one of the big issues with if somebody was in so this is speaking directly on like graphic novel adaptation stuff that I dealt with. So my air quote brother, the guy I grew up with, he owns a graphic design company and a marketing company and stuff. So I was always like in the periphery of his obsession with drawing and doing graphic design. And he penned a bunch of graphic novels and all this blah, blah, blah at the time back then. And so one of the big issues is that the print presses back then would generally print people that were dark skinned. They would essentially come out purple. Right. And so that was one of the big issues back, as far as I know from my youth of dealing with the graphic novel and stuff like that, why artists would sort of pen everybody as white people, right, is because the medium itself only kind of lent itself to look correct if you drew people like that because of the way that the printing process worked. And it continued to evolve that way. So whether or not that has any influence on some of the art of the time, so 70s, 80s, 90s, and probably even early 2000s, is probably more prevalent than we realize because we often don't even get interviews from the people that make stuff and go like, and nobody would ever ask them the question of like, well, why was Death a white guy, right? Because no one would even think to ask that. But so from my perspective, if you go, Neil Gaiman was there. Neil Gaiman said, these are the actors that I'm putting my stamp of approval on. Whether they pick them or not, maybe is not 100%, right? But if he's saying, these are the people I see as the characters that I wrote, right? I would have a tendency to agree with the artist that wrote the book versus a counterculture argument from somebody like Ben Shapiro, who's like,
some ridiculous.
oh my
social
God, there's a
commentary.
black person in a TV show, right? Like,
Hmm.
I'm just like, who cares about that?
Hmm.
Whereas The Wheel of Time is a perfect example of people going, oh my God, this person is mixed race or whatever, the actor. I personally don't care about that. What I care about is that the actor is like 28 years old and acting like a 28-year-old in the show and having these developed relationships, these developed sexual relationships with other characters in the show, which in the books explicitly do not have that until much later in the books when they actually are 28. Because at the beginning of the story, they're like 17, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the Lord of the Rings starting out with Frodo being 50 years old instead of being young, right? Like it wouldn't make any sense, and they just go like, well, hey, he's middle-aged already, and you're like, wait, he's supposed to be young though, right? You're like, no, we just it's Liam Neeson, right? We just Liam Neeson as Frodo because who cares, right? Like
He's
nobody
got skills.
cares, and we
Yeah.
just rewrote all the stuff. And he's not a hobbit really. He's actually just a man. We just call him Frodo and he just has the name Frodo and he just runs around stabbing everybody all the time. He wears armor and he stabs everyone and he rides around on a horse. And you're like, is that maybe one of the other characters in the book? You're like, no, that's just we're just making a movie, guys. Who cares? Look at the flashy lights. Like that's my issue is that I don't know. To me, like my time is valuable, and when people like shit on my time like that, I get pissed off. Like I don't, So I don't know. But the Wheel of Time is a mess because at the beginning of the books, they're like late stage teenagers. They're like basically like juniors in high school, right? And they get swept off on a journey, just like in the Lord of the Rings. It's like I don't. Where am I going? I don't want to go. I don't want to go on any of this stuff. And it's like, too bad, you gotta. Like it's your time.
G'day,
GRB. So that's the thing. That's the thing that completely irritates me about the Wheel of Time. It's like all of the characters are completely wrong from the books. It's just like they just have their name.
So I still feel like my strategy is pretty epic then. Watch the show first and I can decide if the show is terrible or amazing, enjoy it or hate it on its own merits. And then if I like the show or if I don't, check out the books. But if I read the books first, I'm definitely going to be disappointed by the show.
Well, my point is that that's not necessarily.
It doesn't
That's not
have to be that way.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. It just ends up being that way when like people that are terrible at making shows make shows, right?
Why do so many people terrible at making shows make shows?
Nepotism.
I wish I could get a little nepotism in my favor. Seems like one of those deals where you just fail up. Screw something up, little Johnny gets a promotion. Screw something up there, make a trash TV show.
Well, it's like where. So, like, here's a good example. Like, Angelina Jolie, right? Everybody knows who Angelina Jolie is, right? Like, why? Is she just like such an amazing actress? Like, whoa.
Hackers, man.
What's that?
Hackers.
No, everybody knows who Angelina Jolie is because her dad is John Voight and her mom is another famous actress.
No,
her mum was
I saw her in Gia when I was pretty young, and that was a messed up movie. Like I didn't see that coming. I thought it was about a supermodel, and it was sad. And so it was like a little bit traumatizing, kind of. I didn't know you could die that bad.
I think Angelina's mum was a model, wasn't she? Because she's a stunning lady.
Yeah, her dad is John Voight, the famous actor, and her mom is Marceline Bertrand, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. So, like, the reason that we ended up with Angelina Jolie is nepotism. It's like her parents are famous in Hollywood, and they were like, "Here's our daughter," basically, once she was old enough to be an actor, right?
Give her a go.
And also, it's like you have time and money to become an actor. It's just like, where did Jeff Bezos come from? It's like he came from a wealthy, affluent family. He got a bunch of money from his parents. He went to an Ivy League school. He met all the Ivy League school people, glad handed them, and then there you go. Like, here, world's your oyster, right? And we're all supposed to expect that we're in that same boat, right?
Was
Yeah,
that Angelina's first break?
she was in Hackers, but like, why did she get the Hackers role?
95 because she was smoking hot. she was awesome, and it's hilarious if you go back and watch Hackers about how ridiculous it is. Their portrayal of internet hacking in 1995 was just so bad.
That was Dan Aykroyd's movie, wasn't it?
I've gotten.
Or am I? No, I'm thinking of Sneakers. I think.
Yeah, no, it's not Sneakers, but it's hilarious. It is bloody hilarious. Budget 20 million, box office 7.5 million. Sorry, it did not go well. I watched it on video because a friend had a video shop, and man, we were just like, this. We didn't know much about computers, and we just thought this is just stupid.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it.
But her natural beauty back then, before she was untampered with, she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah, she gets it from her mum. She certainly doesn't get her attractiveness from her dad. That's not an attractive man.
Who, John Voight?
Not in any capacity.
John Voight was attractive when he was young. Of course he was.
Yeah, I suppose Midnight Cowboy, he was a bit of a spunk, but he was, you know, early 20s and 6'4" and full of piss and vinegar.
He looks like a bad night waiting to happen. That's the guy I'd want to go home with after drinking too much. I'll tell you that.
The sort of face that makes you stop drinking.
So, you know, my point with Angelina Jolie is that where did she come from? Is it like she's such a good actress or whatever? And I know that some people think she's hot. It's been said. It's been said by some people. But the reality is that she had famous parents, right? And then, but the weird thing is that when you start to go down the list of most people that are actors and actresses and, you know, directors and producers and stuff like that, they're all related to each other. It's these people's kids. It's these people's kids, and they put them in there, and then
it's so incestuous. It makes a lot of sense for this stuff going down over there.
Well, it's not incestuous. It's nepotism. Like, you give to your kids their career, right? Like, that's, you know, I mean, instead of them earning it, it's not like, but the mythology in America is that everybody just goes out and works super hard, and then the next thing you know, they're J.J. Abrams or whatever, right? It's like, well, for every J.J. Abrams that takes up half of the big movies every year, right? There's a million other people that are like making indie films and, you know, being a waiter at some restaurant, you know.
Oh, let me digress back to the chat. Punchy Pants is cooking a frozen pizza in a pan. My recommendation would be cover the pan with tinfoil to make a pan oven, so to speak.
You need a lid, yeah.
She's probably already over it. She's probably 4 steps ahead of me already. Could be worth a shot, though. I might try that one day. See how it turns out.
I have
Personal
those
pan
big
pizza.
Dutch ovens that are like cast iron on the inside and enamel on the outside. And they have this funny little thing about them where you grab this giant Dutch oven and you put it in a super hot oven and it cooks for like 17 hours. And you open the oven and you know that it's been in there for however many zillion hours, but you just want to grab it. And you obviously can't because it's 1,000 degrees. I've grabbed it like 3 times. I've also grabbed the lid like twice. Like, I know it's hot, but it's still worth it though. I make this bread in there. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's just a giant ball of carbs. Dutch ovens. Where it's at.
We have a different definition for a Dutch oven down here. Actually, a couple of them. There's 2 different ones, but yeah.
I know of one other one. That is definitely not what I meant.
The farting under the blanket one.
Yeah, that is not okay. It's like your butthole raping my mouth and nostrils. Like, I'm just trying to exist. Like, air is like, I can go without water for a minute. I can go without food for a long time. Can't go without air for very long at all. Especially like when you're sleeping and they do it and you wake up because you're like choking on the smell of their butthole and gasping.
It sounds like perfect comedy to me. Our other definition involves multiple people in a small confined space smoking marijuana so that you keep getting stoned because the smoke's not escaping anywhere.
We call that hotboxing.
Yeah, we don't. We've probably got another definition for hotboxing. But we won't go into that one because it's probably more criminal than Dutch ovening.
Oh, that should be a crime. That is terrible. Like, you should just do your Dutch oven thing and then get up and walk your happy little ass to the couch and just spend the week there. You're fine. Learn how to act right. Like, if you're gonna fart under the blankets, you gotta fluff at your feet. You kick the pain away.
Fluff at your feet? What do you mean?
You kick up the blankets at your feet so the smell goes out and away. That's proper passing gas in bed etiquette. You guys don't even look like you're even pretending like you would ever do such a silly thing. You're like, what? Why? What? No.
What's that? Fart under the covers? I do that all the time.
No. These two kick the fart out from under the blankets instead of just putting the blankets over their partner's head.
I wouldn't do that. No.
Yeah, you don't kick the smell out until it becomes intolerable for yourself.
That's so cool.
I got to be in my best behavior. I've got a wife who's a bit older than me, so yeah, none of that from me. Yeah.
You can't be farting under the covers?
I just wouldn't do it. No.
Oh.
Not
Josh, is
consciously.
prevention, not cure.
It's called divorce prevention. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. When you've been together for 22 years, it's you kind of have some established respect boundaries. Not that she'd do the same for me. She'll always let one rip in the bed. But that's shouldn't have said that. But anyway.
See, I'll get up and leave a room. Like, I'm not. Yeah. Well, it depends. If it can be like silent, but it feels like it might be a little stinky, I'm not above crop dusting. But all of the guys I've dated in the last decade have been huge fans of farting under the blankets and getting me with it, and farting in the car and locking the windows.
Wow.
So I'm a little sensitive. I've smelled a lot of fart. I might die from like butt face. I might actually get pink eye in my nose.
There was an awesome episode of the Sarah Silverman program that involved the old car trick, dropping a stinky fart in a car. It just happened to be a police car. And when they described it as, I think their phone was being tapped or they were being listened to or something, and they said that they dropped a bomb in the police car. And it became a whole thing. It was a great episode of that show. I think there was only 6 episodes of that made, or maybe 12. Some of her best work.
The only thing I can remember of Sarah Silverman's, I've watched a lot of her stand-up, thought she was funny. For whatever reason, fellow child of the 80s, when she talked about taking a shower with her mom and the giant 80s bush that was at base level, like in the public swimming pool changing room, like it was everywhere. We're that height, so it's like but showering off of her
cover
mom
your eyes so you don't have an eye taken out.
And I'm like, oh yeah, girl, I remember that.
Oh man, my friend posted my friend posted earlier today that it's the 25th anniversary for Event Horizon. If you guys remember that movie.
Yeah, that was a good film.
It's a crazy film. And of course, I commented on it. I saw that in the theater, and I was on a lot of hallucinogenics at the time, a lot of psychedelics. And yeah, it freaked me out. It didn't freak me out as much as my friends that were with me at the time. I think they thought the world was ending, but it definitely was freaked me out. And I went back and saw it a couple more times. And it's a wild movie. But the funny thing, his comment was, yeah, the same thing happened to me. Because the trailer for that movie, which he reminded me of, was that it's just going to be like a space movie. You know, it's going to be like a crazy 2001 Space Odyssey, like sort of suspense a little bit and weird and quiet and out in space and da-da-da. No, that's not at all what that movie was going on there.
It was the first Warhammer 40,000 movie.
What's that?
It was the first Warhammer 40,000 movie.
Event Horizon was.
Yeah, they pinched the concept from the Games Workshop guys with their idea of that when a spaceship travels faster than light, it's got to go through dimensions and go through hell for it to basically travel that far, that fast. So,
G'day, 3G.
3G.
All the G's.
But yeah, if you want to go faster than light, you've got to go through hell. But that's, I think, go back to American Gods. In the book, there was a scene where he traveled through the different realm, and it was effectively hellscapes as well. Get it through G.
Yeah, that was a good show. I might have to go back and rewatch that. One show I did start rewatching yesterday was Legion. Don't know if you've seen that Marvel show. Not exactly a mainstream Marvel character, but yeah, very psychological thriller style show. Definitely worth a watch. Because it was a good rewatch too, because it must be like 2 or 3 years since I've watched it. And I could barely remember any of it. So it wasn't like I was just rehashing old memories. It was all like fresh and brand new. Quality show about telekinesis and telepathy, and not so much superpowers as such, except for telepathy and telekinesis, obviously.
Fun fact, Professor X lost his ability to walk from a battle with the Shadow King.
With what?
The Shadow King. Remember the main bigger evil in Legion? You're not up to the last bits.
Nah, yeah, I think I only did 4 or 5 episodes yesterday.
Okay. Well,
So
the
yeah,
shadow.
he's only just come to terms with that he's super powerful and
Yeah.
has only just sort of come to grips with his ability to use it.
Yeah. Legion is a psychiatrist's nightmare. Having to deal with that shit. That is real.
Yeah, it's certainly a tour through headology, isn't it? Lots of psychological stuff in it. Huawei. When people ask me why I'm so fat, I just say I'm possessed by the Shadow King. Oh, the Shadow King, is that what they call the fat dude? Yeah, right. I don't think I ever heard him called that by name. He's just the monster where I'm up to.
A dark and nasty entity.
The yellow-eyed demon. So many alternative names, aliases even.
I like 3G's comment. I'm not fat. I'm just short for my weight. Same. I was meant to be 6'8". I don't know what you want from me. Gravity was a little turned up at my house. So I ended up how I am.
Turn down the gravastat, Mom.
Planet Earth loves you.
It just won't let me go.
I also, speaking of Legion, one of the actresses from Legion, a young girl, she was in the new Predator movie on Disney at the moment called Prey. I watched that the other day, and that's certainly the best Predator movie that's come out for a while. Very good, set in the 1700s. And the Cherokee, I think, were the main combatants. There was some whitey in it, but not a lot of whitey. But yeah, it was quite a good Predator movie. And then, of course, it was obligatory after that I went back and watched the original Arnie one.
Yep.
And then I never, ever liked the second one because it was just too unrealistic that Danny Glover, as like a 67-year-old dude, was going to be able to beat the Predator. So I skipped that one, and then I did The Predator, and then Predators. Predators was a pretty good one. But yeah, I'm never going to sit through that Danny Glover one again. And most of the Alien versus Predator ones were pretty nonsense. But yeah, Prey was pretty good.
Did you pick up on the subtle connection between the original and Prey?
There was quite a lot of subtle connections. There was lots of, sliding through mud and certain lines that were said, like they said, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
There was, a lot of links.
The one I saw was about the Native American guy in the original and how he seems to have some sort of foreknowledge about this thing being real. And it was proposed that he's the protagonist
Descendant
from Prey. Yeah, he's the descendant, so he knows it's a real thing. He's been told the stories. He's ready for action, whereas everyone else is going, "What the fuck's going on?" This guy knows. he's ready. Billy, yeah.
Yeah, I thought for such a hardcore warrior in the first one, Billy's demise was pretty poor, but he was a warrior. He was doing his thing. He was ready to go, but unfortunately, it didn't last very long. No, spoiler alert. Sorry, people who haven't watched a 35-year-old movie.
40 years. So Alien was the one with like the extra long time being born baby head, right? Like its head was like whoop.
Yeah.
And
The thing that
then-
burst out of chests and
Oh, I
face
thought
suckers and acid blood and
Yeah.
Oh. So what was Predator then?
Predator was the hunting one with our aliens that came to our planet to hunt humans.
Arnold
I didn't
Schwarzenegger.
like those ones at all. That was
Chew on this. It'll turn you into a sexual Tyrannosaurus. It's the greatest line. It's one of
yeah,
the
I can't-
greatest lines of all time in cinema.
And then the line that comes after it, which is very politically incorrect these days, is very funny to see that not tinkered with on the Disney platform. Because I noticed on Legion, there's a couple of uses of the word fuck that are blanked out, like not bleeped out, they're just silenced, like they used to do in the olden days. And I thought that must have been a Disney thing.
Oh,
But
is
yeah,
Legion on Disney?
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, right. There you go. I couldn't remember where I've been watching it.
I
Yeah,
thought
I
it
think
was.
it's-
I honestly thought it was a good film.
Which
I thought it was Legion. I mean, the Predator's classic, but
Legion's the
all
TV
of the
series.
sequels to the Predator ruined it.
What were the sequels?
The follow-ups to the Predator, like Predator 2 with Danny Glover.
Was that a prequel to the Arnie one?
No,
No,
the
'cause they
sequel.
referenced it.
This Predator 2.
Yeah, I thought you said prequels.
No, I said sequels.
Right.
Yum.
Well, the one that came out today or this week is a prequel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
17, 19. I
I'm
think
just
it
saying
was
every movie that came out after the original, all of the sequels, it ruined the Predator, right? Because Predator 2 had Danny Glover, who was too old for this shit, Riggs, right? And then they're jumping around a city, and you're like, Danny Glover beat the
But he
Predator?
he
Okay.
couldn't even pull off like running scenes and stuff like that without looking like a dottery old man.
Yeah, he did not look like he
Danny
was
Glover,
a level
I
of
feel
fitness
like he could do
that.
anything he put his mind to. Like
Who?
Maybe in
just gotta give him
maybe
a
in the
little bit.
80s.
What?
Yeah. I
What?
mean,
You think? Wait, what?
he's got to recapture his former glory.
Who?
Danny Glover. Like I remember Danny Glover from when I was growing
Hey,
up.
Danny
I'm pretty
Glover
sure
was a
he
good
could do
actor.
anything. He could do
Danny-
anything.
Okay, Danny Glover was a great actor, and I don't know if he's still alive or not, but regardless,
He
if he
does
is
great,
alive, he's a great
He do-
actor. If
he
he's
does
dead,
great lines.
he
and
still
great
was a great
reads.
actor. Yeah, he was a great actor. He should not have been in that film. He should not have been in that movie. He was too old for this shit, Riggs.
I'm
By
sure.
that point,
I'm sure there was a few scenes where
Riggs, I'm
they-
getting too old for this. And Danny Glover's like, oh, he was an old man by that point. And then he went head to head. He went head to head with the Predator, flopping around a city, being murdered almost over and over again. And he basically defeats the other Predators, and then he gets accepted by the Predators at the end, and they make him an honorary Predator. Okay, it's the stupidest movie, and the ending makes it even worse. Spoiler
That
alert:
is
it's a
actually
30-year-old movie. What?
And this
What's
is
that?
the stuff you like, Blacky?
Yeah, I love Predator movies except for the shit ones. And
I love
Danny
them.
Glover's one.
I think
Okay. Got it.
they're great.
I'm
I
fairly
will
certain.
watch them. I'll probably watch every Predator movie if I get an opportunity to like sit down and watch it. Sure. And I like
I'm-
Go read the books. The
But
books
all-
are
let's see.
fucking awesome.
Predator, the original one in itself, has a level of mystery throughout the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't know why the Predator's there. You don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know what's happening. He eventually goes head to head and defeats the Predator, who, by the way, just blows himself up suicidally at the end because he essentially was defeated. And then it's like, well, I'm going to take him out with the bomb, right?
Yeah.
Now, at the end, there really is no. They don't wrap the film up. He just goes off. Like you're like, that's well, and here's the credits. Like, get out of the theater. That this story is done now. And there's no real ending. It's just like, well, that shit happened. Okay. And then you don't know what happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. Everyone else is dead. So he just kind of
I think
waltzes off, right?
one of the finest achievements of the original Predator was they did not make that girl a love interest of the lead, and there was no romantic.
None of that. It was a happening. A thing happened. It's like a UFO came down, abducted somebody, and then they came back to the planet, and it's like the thing happened, right? And you're like, I don't really know. No one really knows. And then at the end, the Predator blows up. So there's not even any remnants of the Predator. So it's like this advanced army team. Advanced army team went into the woods and they fought something. And the only guy that came back was this dude. And he said that there was a monster. He's just talking about Sasquatch or something. I don't know what's happening. And you're just like, word. But then all the other Predator movies came out and they built all this lore around the Predators of like, they come here because this is a special planet and they have Inca temples here. And they put their young predators here to fight the evil alien on our Scooby-Doo planet here. And that's why the predators come here, because they like to hunt things. And it's like, but we're not. Why would they be hunting humans? That doesn't make any sense. So, well, they have aliens that they put underground and then they resurrect them and then they come and they take over the whole planet. And the predators either die or they hunt them and they kill all the aliens, and then they get to become a predator hunter, right? Like they get to ascend into adulthood of the predator society, right? But you add in all this crap, and all of a sudden it's like, why don't the predators just do this on Mars? Why wouldn't they just do it? Like they can fly around all the space. Like, what's the point? What do they do? Why are they coming here? You just end up with like a billion questions. Whereas the original Predator, you got the soldiers, there's stuff happening, they're a bunch of badasses, something weird's going on in the woods, so they chase after it naturally because that's who these guys are. They're like, we're here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, right? They're all right.
And might I say that was probably Jesse Ventura's best role in a movie. I think he acted
100%.
splendidly in that movie.
I mean,
he was
like
great.
1,000%. They said, "Hey, play Jesse Ventura," and he was like, "I can do that." And now he's out here trying to run for president or whatever, and he's like, "Listen, all the socialists are trying to take over. I'm a libertarian," And you're like, Can you just stop doing that? Like, stop
tone back the wrestling personality a wee bit.
Can you just stop doing whatever it is you're doing? Yeah, no. Anyhow, so, but the original film just existed as like a thing happened. You don't have all the answers. What happened because you watched the thing happen.
They weren't trying to fill in any blanks or build a massive story.
Don't build that story. But because of the popularity of the first one, they decided to build on the story without a lot of background material to work with, right? And so then you ended up with Danny Glover's kind of hot right now because he's got, he's doing the Mel Gibson movie with the shoot 'em ups, and he's like a retired cop, and it'd be good.
I'm sure there was a few scenes in Predator 2 where you could still see his walking stick in frame as well.
Right, he's just, hey guys, whoa. Yep. Oh, hey, there's a thing over here. Whoa.
Check out the Predator books, the novels, not the graphic novels, but there's a particular book that I read when I was a teenager after watching the first movie. Right. I hadn't seen the second one, but it was about an Asian woman who gets accepted by the Predators and goes to their home planet. And it was fucking a really good read. Like when I was young, it was so good. So there is a lot of source material to work off. I unfortunately never got the graphic novels, but I'm sure there's some amazing stories there too. The other really cool thing was the tie-in with the AVP, Alien vs Predator video game arcade machine, and how there's a character in there called Dutch, who's basically Arnie, but with a cybernetic arm, and he's in the future as a colonial marine. And that tie-in was sort of on the nose, sort of little reference, but great fun as a video game. Really, really cool.
Right.
Well, there wouldn't have been the Alien versus Predator movies without the video game, because the game came first, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing with like Alien versus Predator movies, actually probably would have been interesting had they not had the humans in there, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
if they had just not had the human, like, we're trying to tell the storyline of these like ice climber explorers. Who was the chick? She was leading a team of scientists to go look at a thing under the ice or whatever, and like the humans don't act like humans in that movie.
Was
They
it was
don't.
it was it Rosario Dawson in that one?
I don't know. It's not Rosario. It's somebody else. I'd have to look it up, but it's not Rosario Dawson. I know that.
Eva Mendes. It was one of those Latina looking girls.
AVP. Let's look it up. AVP. Who's the?
We got it on Disney down here, Huawei. Maybe it's on Disney up there as well.
You know, I read this. I read the synopsis for Prey, and not. Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it has the same old. You've got to kind of engage your suspension of disbelief for some of it, but as far as it's up there with one of the better Predator movies. I think the good thing about Predators, which I think was either the third or fourth one that came out, I think it was the third one, was that the humans were abducted and put on a different planet in outer space to be hunted down. That was quite a good one as well. I'd probably say the original Predator number 1, Prey number 2, Predators number 3, and then the rest. Meh.
I guess I'll have to. I guess I'll have to go watch it. But I hear that there's a lot of strong inconsistency in it. So I don't know.
That's why I said engage your sense of suspension of belief, I should say.
Of disbelief. I gotta suspend my disbelief.
Predator versus Beetlejuice. That'd be the best comedy movie a Predator could be involved in.
I wish they would make Beetlejuice 2.
Isn't it still? It's being spitballed as well, to steal the phrase from 3G. I thought it was coming. Because, that was classic. Classic. I could watch Beetlejuice anytime. Probably not all the time, because you'd get sick of it.
I could definitely watch that movie once a month, probably forever. I don't know. It's there's so many things going on in the background that, like, you don't even necessarily need to watch like the main story. You could just watch all the weird crap that's going on around in the background of that. What's that?
If you turned off the audio, you could watch it on mute, and it's still like visually the architecture in that weird little house, their clothes,
right.
Like all of this stuff happening is a whole nother movie. Like you can go deep into that movie. I've seen people have that be like their whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
The way they dress, the decor in their home, the wedding they have.
Right. Well, I think
Pam
I think
probably shouldn't have said that. Now she's going to have to share a pizza with Beetlejuice.
So I think what would be interesting is that, like, so obviously we've seen a resurgence of Winona Ryder, right? Like she's sort of went to a psychotherapist for a while, kind of got her stuff, whatever issues she had going on, figured out. She's back working and seemingly doing really well for herself. So that's good. Michael Keaton is still around. He's still working.
Still creepy.
So you got opportunity there.
I mean, he went from the movie Night Shift into Beetlejuice, and that was, Night Shift was pretty boring as a movie,
right.
But he still acted well in it. And then he was like so over the top in Beetlejuice compared to Night Shift.
Yep. And he was Batman. He was Batman, and he was the Vulture, right? Isn't he the Vulture now?
Yep.
The bird now.
So it's like, and then who else was in that? Gina Davis. Yeah, Gina Davis was in that. 3Gs, got it. So you could do Gina Davis could be in it. But here's the thing, like enough years have gone by that the kids from Beetlejuice could be the adults now, right? So you have like it could just be like Beetlejuice the Next Generation kind of deal. It's like their kids are dealing with Beetlejuice, and then like Winona Ryder is the only one who knows who Beetlejuice is. Like maybe she goes on to marry some regular Chad, and they're like, oh, that was just a thing, and da da da. And now they have kids, and they have a house, and a blah blah blah. And then they could find a Beetlejuice thing or something, and she's the only one, and she's trying to warn everybody, but Beetlejuice is not going to let that happen because he's going to rain Beetlejuice terror all over the place, right?
I want to see this.
You could do it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's available. Like, you know. Stop screwing up good books and just go write Beetlejuice 2, Electric Boogaloo. This time it's personal, right? And you're good to go. Like that would make. How much money did Top Gun 2 make? $1 billion. Like Beetlejuice 2, if you made a good Beetlejuice 2, it would make $1 billion. I guarantee it.
It's so appropriate for so many audiences.
Yeah. Because all of the boomers would want to watch it, all the millennials would want to watch it, and the Zoomers would just follow along because that's what they do, right? They'd be like, "Oh, it's hot right now. Oh, striped suits, let's do it. Great striped suits, green hair. It's just the Joker again, right?"
There's worse fashion trends, like the mullet.
You get what's her name, Harley Quinn, to play Beetlejuice's girlfriend. Bob's your uncle. So good.
I think from memory there's some animated Beetlejuice for you to catch up on if you can find it.
Yeah, there is animated Beetlejuice. Who cares?
It's like a Nickelodeon cartoon or something.
It's like for little kids. Yeah, it's not great.
Show Olivia. Are you good, Dad?
I'm not showing. Olivia is 3. She's not even 4. All right, she does not watch.
She'd love it. It's for all audiences. I thought you were saying.
Do you have kids?
No.
Okay, then shut up.
Okay. Yes, sir.
No, I mean, I know that you like being woken up by koalas humping in your backyard. I know that for a fact. I know you like that. You enjoy it. But I would guarantee you would not like your 3-year-old waking up in the middle of the night because actually this happened a couple weeks ago. She was having a nightmare about people who had no eyes. And I sort of envisioned like a Pink Floyd cover sort of vibe thing that she was explaining to me. It was just people with no eyes. It was like, I wonder where you came up with that. But that is enough of being awake at 3:00 in the morning going like, my alarm goes off in 45 minutes and you are not going to be asleep for me to go back to sleep. Now I'm just up before my alarm goes off, and my alarm goes off wicked early, you know. So, when she's like 10, yeah, we'll watch whatever, but she's just not old enough yet.
I think my oldest son was playing Doom when he was 4.
The big issue with kids now is if they watch old stuff, like we watched The Wizard of Oz, like the original one, and she was just like, okay, yeah, there's like kind of stuff happening, you know. And it's like, but then go watch Moana, right? And it's like Dwayne The Rock Johnson singing songs, and he's like this 3D animated, like beautifully rendered character. And then there's a lava monster and all this like crazy, like insane graphics. The guy from who's that comedy trio? The comedy duo singer guys from New Zealand. Who are those 2 dudes?
Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, Flight of the Conchords. He plays a character in it. He shows up as this
Clement.
He shows up as this crazy crab and sings this hilarious song that is so funny.
Nice callback too, because he's also in Legion.
Oh yeah. But like, so that's the thing is that like, if we go watch the older stuff, it doesn't really resonate with them as well.
Yeah, it's not got the modern day trigger points for kids that are you know really going to tie them in and make them.
I mean,
focus.
I mean, like in Moana, it's like she starts out as a little kid, and the ocean chooses her, and she gets the heart of Tafiti, and there's all this like, there's so much stuff going on, and there's vibes, and then she gets older, and then she goes out on her boat, and she goes out there, and she meets a demigod, and the demigod's a dick, and just keeps treating her like a dick the whole time, and then they have this like hard relationship that they eventually resolve at the end of the movie. Like there's a lot going on there. Whereas in like the Wizard of Oz, it's like we represent the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild, right? You know, and like, and she's kind of like, why?
Is scary.
Why are those
Oh,
people? Why are they a lolly? They have lollipops. I want a lollipop. Lollipop. Yeah, let's have candy. You know, and you're like, you are not
They were on
engaged
drugs.
with this. What's that?
They were on drugs. The Lollipop Guild.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you know, and the thing is that like she's just not engaged, and then immediately distracted by the idea that there is a lollipop somewhere, right? Like, is there candy somewhere that I could have? Like, that would be rad. Because I don't really want to watch this movie. I want to eat a lollipop because these guys were singing about lollipops, dude. You know, so. And the whole time she's at the age where she goes like, why is that guy made out of metal? And you're like, well, he's the Tin Man. And then you realize like you don't have any way to explain why there's a man made of tin. Like your explanation is he's the Tin Man, like because tin and a man, and he doesn't, you know, he just, you know, it's like
I believe robot would be the acceptable term these days.
He doesn't have a heart, so he's a Tin Man, right? Like you know. But then she's like, but then they need to oil they were putting oil on him. What was that? Was he squeaky? You know, and you're like, well, yeah, because he was a Tin Man. He doesn't have a heart, but he just was laying down and the oxidized tin, but like this tin really okay, just tin does oxidize. Okay, so but like would grease, I don't know. They're gonna dance. It's cool, right? No, I don't know.
It's funny when your 4-year-old kid gets you to question the science of the Wizard of Oz.
Right. Which Return to Oz might be a little better. It might be a little more engaging for her. But I'll be honest with you, she's got to get a few years older before she watches that movie because there's some
like
stuff.
40 years between those two, wasn't there? With probably one of the longest sequels ever.
Yeah. There's a lot of imagery in the Return to Oz that I think would give a 3-4-year-old wicked nightmares. So
yeah, my grandmother made sure I watched the original Wizard of Oz when I was a wee child.
Right.
It was quite an experience, but yeah, I don't understand why it was so important for me to watch it when I was a small child. But the assumptions, like you were saying, the suspension of disbelief, getting hooked into a story, it requires you to just roll with it, you know. And a lot of critics just don't. They've lost the magic. They don't know how to watch a movie without being critical, and they spoil it for themselves. Okay. They get on the internet and they spoil it for everyone else.
Okay, the big issue is I can suspend disbelief if you can maintain consistency within your own story that you wrote and produced.
Fair point.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you break the rules to the world that you have built where I have suspended my disbelief, I lose my ability to track with that because I have enough of a memory to remember 38 minutes ago when you explained this function and apply it to the story that I'm watching, right? Something can be extraordinarily low quality and be a brilliant story, and I would really enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
What's
you've got to accept some world-breaking changes for plot to progress.
No, absolutely not. Good storytelling. Good storytelling exists within the story that you have written because you have access to writing it in the way that you want it to be, right? Like you're not limited by anything. You know, you're basically limited by your ability to write and your ability to maintain the own world that you've made. But you're not limited. You could fly into space and transmogrify into a dinosaur and have a rocket ship made of gold that flies off into space. You could call it the Heart of Gold, and Zaphod Beeblebrox could be there, and he has 2 heads, right? Like, you could do whatever you want. But like, I'm trying to remember. So Tim Minchin, who you guys probably know who Tim Minchin is, right?
He lives down the street.
He did a TV show. Yeah, he lives right down the street, right? He did a TV show that was like super. Is it called Upright?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him.
Oh, you might not be, but like he's not being like a comedian. He's doing acting in this Upright show. But it was made with a super shoestring budget. Like it was not like a crazy amount of money. It's like 10 episodes long, but it's a perfect example of. It's 8 episodes long. It's a perfect example of writing a story that follows an arc. The characters don't break their own stuff, and it's really good. I enjoyed it, and it didn't take $100 million to make it, and it's just like an example of they wrote a story, they maintained consistency throughout the story, the characters evolved, a story was told, and there was emotion around it, right? And so, like, my big issue is that when you break your own story within the telling of the story, that just takes me out of it, and it screws up your story that you were trying to present, so I don't necessarily enjoy being critical of stuff, but like, here's an example. This Upright show, it was really good. I enjoyed it. There's like no notes, go watch it. If you can find it, it's kind of difficult to find. What's that?
Upright, you said it was called.
Yeah. It's just about a guy who's like down on his luck, and he's
got to get himself upright.
It's kind of hard to explain, but like he meets this young gal, and like he has to help her out, and he doesn't want to. He's very reluctant, and it's interesting because it tells a story of a growth of humans kind of going out of their comfort zone or whatever, and just showing that like, I guess the moral of it is that like you can grow and become a better person or whatever, right? But like, there's never a point in that show that I could identify that like this character wouldn't be doing this, or why does their car suddenly fly now, or whatever, right?
Speaking of Wizard of Oz versions as well, there's a TV show. I can't remember whether it was late 90s or early 2000s called Tin Man. And it was only 4 or 6 episodes, but it was one of my favorite incarnations of the Wizard of Oz storyline. Mm-hmm. Had that Zoe Deschanel in it, and that
oh, that's right,
that blonde actor who usually plays a bad guy, but he's kind of a good guy in this one. Shit, what's his name? Anyway, can't remember. But yeah, it had no, can't remember his name either.
No, it was good. I remember that.
Yeah, it was good. Not sure where you'd find it these days, but definitely worth a watch. It's only like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's got Alan Cumming.
Cumming, that was the other
Neil
one.
McDonough.
Neil McDonough is
Neil
the
McDonough. Who always plays like a dirty CEO character type dude.
Just some arsehole dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's worth a watch if you can find it. Good fun. A little dated now probably because of the special effects. They rely on a lot of late 90s, early 2000s CGI, which wasn't necessarily at the prime of the skill, the science. I'm going to go and wrestle a crocodile real quick.
Hey, where can we watch the Tin Man series? You are able to stream Tin Man for free on Crackle, Plex, Pluto, and Tubi. All right. Whatever those are.
That doesn't sound familiar. What you vaping on, Shanna?
Or Amazon, apparently. Amazon Prime in the States. Yeah, you can watch it on Amazon.
Health bar.
It's free with ads.
Drinking on a health bar. Okay.
It's free with ads on Amazon if you want to watch it. You can.
Cool. Thank you, Joel.
Yeah. You could just get it right inside your body by watching it with your eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Have you ever played D&D, Joel?
What's that?
Have you ever been exposed to Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
So do you the lawful good aspect of yourself, do you role play as different alignments, or do you
I don't necessarily have a lawful good. I mean, in real life, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like so here's the deal. Like, I'm lawful good in the aspect of like being critically honest, like at all times, right? Like, so a good example would be like if somebody asked me something and it like let's say it was a position in where somebody would lie, right? They'd be like, oh, I'm gonna lie right now. I would normally just tell somebody like I don't want to answer that. Like I don't want to say. I can't say. Right. And to the point of where I would say like I'm avoiding answering the question because I don't want to. Like that's specifically what's happening right now. Like I don't encounter things that way. But like a good example, like a few years ago, like many years ago or whatever, like a coworker of mine called me up in the middle of the night in order to like coerce me into like lying to his wife to say that he was like working the overnight or whatever, right? And I was like, no, why would I do that? You know, and it's like you're not being a you know, and it's like
bros before hoes, dude.
Like, you know, no, like why would I do that? Why would I put something I value so highly on the line because you're living a dishonest life, right? Like that, I would never do that, right? To the point where like I would probably, and I actually has happened many times. I've ended up getting into like physical altercations over it because like I try to live like critically honest, right? But as far as like a D&D character goes,
you don't mind a little bit of chaotic evil.
I mean, I literally have a dark elf drow as my name right now, right?
That's why, yeah.
So, you know, it's like, and dark elves live a life of critical honesty. Now, this guy, Dris de Erden, he actually was a good dark elf, which is hard to conceptualize, but he wasn't necessarily like good. He was just virtuous, right? Like he had given up on all of the aspects of the dark elves that were essentially like air quote bad, right? Like he wasn't robbing and stealing and blah 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 and all that, but he was like a super dangerous bad guy. You know, he was a bad dude, but then eventually people became his friends and they went out on a bunch of hero quests. And it's hard to say if they saved the day, but they definitely did a lot of murdering on the way. So, you know, that's
G'day, Kenny.
That's entertaining. Which I think realistically, like Dris de Erden, it would be a great character that could be made into a TV show, like the R.A. Salvatore series. I forget the name of the series. What is it? I don't know. There's a name for that series, but that could be converted into a TV show, like super easy.
What about the Dungeons and Dragons one that's on Netflix? I think it's done by the Critical Role kids.
Which one is that?
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Well, Critical Role is a group of people that do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast where they play Dungeons and Dragons, but they do it all in character and stuff.
It's hilarious.
And then they made a cartoon about it, which is really good. But yeah, the problem with their podcast is each episode's like 4 or 5 hours long. It's almost as bad as a Blacky strain.
Right. Like I mean, the thing is, like, I can't really, you know, the thing is, like, I can't really wrap my mind around
Dishonesty.
Well, no, around a 6 hour or a 5 hour D&D podcast. I just can't.
Yeah,
like
you got to be pretty mad about your tabletop.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's hard enough to get together if like 10 or 15 people or 7 people or however many people are going to actually do a D&D night and enthusiastically wanting to go. It's hard enough to even like go to that, let alone like listen to some other people have like their D&D thing like as a podcast form. I've tried. I've literally been like,
Yeah.
hey, here's an opportunity for something for me to listen to while I'm at work, but I can't do it.
Yeah, I've quit. I've tried watching it and quit it.
Yeah.
I think
like-
it's probably for lonely D&D fans who don't get along with other people. It's like a social net just to catch them and
Yeah, probably.
get them more, rehabilitated to engaging or at least accepting other people's behavior.
Uh-oh, Danikin's here. They got I think they have a meetup this weekend, or wait, in October.
did.
Never mind.
We had our Gupus meeting on Sunday.
Oh, it was on Sunday?
Mhm.
Legend of Vox
And
Machina
next
is
week
like
is
cartoon, by the
Willamette
way.
Valley, so down in Eugene.
Yeah. There was one coming up that I was going to try to go to, but I think I'm out of town for it. So, what is it? The October one? What is it? Fishtober or something? What's it called?
Fishtoberfest.
That one's in Portland. It's a little closer.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
it's
mind driving to
very
Eugene.
cool. Very, very
I think
cool.
I was trying to go to the when is it? What's the dates on it?
I don't remember. October. I want to say. Wait. I know. Hold on. I just got the flyer sent to me.
Is it like October 8th and 9th or something? That
I
might
think
be out of
so,
town.
but let me double check. Yeah, 8th and 9th. And then normally there's like, yeah. If you're gonna go, let me know. I know of some VIP behind the scenes. Like I know Kenny. You can just tell Kenny you're coming. And you can.
I've been to Kenny's house.
Yeah, me too.
Humble brag.
I got the house set for him.
I got to go back down there and do my follow-up interview with them and have time to go around. Because last time we were there, we had this like super short time frame. And like I filmed some interview stuff with them and I didn't even get a chance to really film any tanks or anything because Olivia was running wild and Dickie was having she's at the end of her rope kind of thing. And it was like, oh, we should go. We should just go. Yeah, we gotta get out of here. Vicky's not super enthusiastic right now about this whole situation.
Filming at their house, the tanks, is way, way, way easier in the evening once it's dark.
Well, yeah.
Then you can turn off all the lights but the one, and it's like entirely different world. Plus, I don't know when the last time you were there was, but they've got a whole nother room that they've added recently.
What's that? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, and
sorry, a work
from,
thing
like,
popped up and I was looking at it.
Ago, I wanted to tell you, Ben was like, Thor, the show that we watched, because he watched some weird stuff that, like, I was fine with him watching. It was a educational torture for me. And The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon cartoon version, was, and like we still will like rock out a weekend and watch all of it. So good.
It's gold.
Was that the one that there was that group of guys that do overdubs and do their own version of it, or was that it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. I'll have to hit up my nephews that are into that stuff. Might have even been Avatar show. Actually, it was the Avatar show. No, hang on, that was The Last Airbender, wasn't it?
Yeah, Avatar, The Last Airbender. It's the little kid with the shaved head on the Nickelodeon. It wasn't Caillou.
I know a lot of people that got super pissed at the
yes.
Yeah. At The Last Airbender and
The movie wasn't very good.
Yeah. And I mean ultimately, like that's the point. Is that when you boil down to it, it's like if people have a good story and then you go to adapt it, in my mind, you have a responsibility to do the best that you can to fit and follow the story, right? And the reason I originally brought that up earlier was the original Dune, right? And Shanna hates it apparently, but I'm like, dude, Sting is in it. It's dope. The Kwisatz Haderach, his name is a killing name. I actually love the original Dune, but the Dune that just came out is like beat for beat, like following how the book goes, and it's one of those things where you go like, some people thought it was too long. Some people were pissed that it's going to be a two-parter, but also it won a whole bunch of Academy Awards. So it's like, on one hand, like I think some people were just upset that like it's too long. Like, okay, you could have less. You could just leave, right? Like you could just opt to go do something else, or that was like sort of the main complaint. Or like the second one hasn't come out, and it's like, well, it is a business, so they had to make enough money to do the second one, right? So we understand how that works, right? So most of the people's complaints are like easily shut down by like, yeah, you didn't have to watch it, or well, they made the first part so that they could make money to make the second part, right? So whereas it really follows the book, and they obviously made some changes and stuff like that, but also at the same time, it's following what happens in the book, and I don't think anybody was really upset by it. I didn't see anybody going like, they didn't throw in a bunch of weird twists that I didn't know about. I didn't hear anybody vocalize that, so I don't know.
I'm just asking my nephew what that.
Clit.
What am I reading?
It's the Danish version of June.
That's right.
It's called Clit.
Okay, I'm like 13. I think that's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
That's like George Lucas's jizz music. That's how George Lucas described the music that the band in the cantina was playing. Their music was jizz music, but I'm not sure if jizz was a popularized word at the time.
I think he was trying to say jazz, but
The A and the I aren't very close to each other. Gotta say, that's a finger. Not even the same finger on different hands.
Well, George Lucas. Was it George Lucas described it that way? He's a weird guy.
I can't. I think it was in one of the behind the scenes videos.
I mean, if you've ever seen the Christmas special, you'd realize they're pretty weird guys.
Well, he didn't have a lot to do with that.
Inspired by.
Yeah.
Directed by.
He approved it. The Christmas special, did he? Yeah, he approved it. Probably hesitantly, but he still did. It still came out.
Mm-hmm. Wait, Z-Beam, you have a YouTube channel? What is it? Let me see. Is there koalas? Is there koalas doing it in here? There is. Late night koala madness.
It's highly likely.
We saw him again yesterday. The mother and the Joey are up in the tree.
Yeah.
Didn't get any video because I don't have a decent video camera.
A baby koala is called a Joey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm using that on Saturday. It's definitely going on Stupid Animal Trivia.
Oh.
Yep. Do you know that platypuses sweat pink milk out of chest skin to feed their babies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exactly true lactation. What did you say? Do you reckon it would smell bad?
I was asking if a platypus smells bad.
I've
think
never
bet
been
they
up
do.
close to one.
No,
They're pretty-
Apparently, some Americans worked out that if you put a platypus under black light, the fur glows.
Right.
And what's really weird about that is that that's a standard practice when you gene edit a mammal or a fish even, is that you
That's
put
with
in also,
axolotls.
as well as the gene edit, you splice in fluorescence into the target so that when they are born, you put the black light on them and they glow and you know that they've been gene edited. So what does that say about the platypus? Has
A
it been gene
platypus is
edited?
a super weird little critter. Like
Yeah,
the
possibly
male
the
has
world's first
one
GMO.
venomous
exactly.
spine, not the
Yeah.
females. They have a duck bill, a beaver tail, and a
Yeah.
cute little stuffed animal body. Like
And lay eggs.
clearly a government scam. And now they're glow platypus.
They glow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
G'day,
It's
Andy.
amazing.
Get
Howdy
your
Well-
tinfoil
do.
hats, people. We're going down a rabbit hole.
While I do, while I do have a lot of arguments for some of these like pseudo geologist nonsensical folks, I do believe that there is a good amount of evidence that the planet we live on was hit by a meteor like 12,000 years ago. And
That's pretty
generally
recent.
speaking, what's that?
That's pretty recent in the history of
Yeah.
our planet.
And there's seemingly finding more and more evidence that there was a civilization here that was fairly advanced before that comet hit the Earth, that asteroid, comet, whatever you want to call it, and wiped out a lot of humanity. Because where I live right now, 13,000 years ago, there was about 5 miles of ice on top of my head.
Mm.
So something hit that and melted it and made all of that crap over that way, right?
Mm.
And there is a ton of geological evidence showing that to be true, that there was ice here, a big sheet of ice, a giant sheet of ice, and then it was impact melted very rapidly. So if you think about it in terms of where are the civilizations now, or like where are the big cities, they're all near the water, right? And if you added 50 feet of water, all of this crap would be gone in a short amount of time, whilst the people moved 3 miles that direction, right?
I'd
And
be underwater.
1,000 years goes
Unbelievable.
by, and like 1,000 years goes by, and nobody remembers any damn thing that happened before. Just that there was a technology thing that happened at one point in time. To easily illustrate that, like I live where there's these insane logging operations had gone on, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot of it was built out of timber because they cut down these trees, and then they cut down all the trees and then used the trees to build stuff to send more trees down, right? But they had railways and these huge like iron mills and all this kind of stuff where they were doing all this stuff up in the hills. And you can go up and walk up there and you can find the stuff that was operating 100 years ago, right? And it's all
Steam
fallen down.
donkeys.
And you
There's all
find
sorts of
giant
stuff.
saw blades in the ground that are like
Mhm.
half deteriorated, right? And it's only been 100 years. Like if you go 300 years from now, nobody would have known that there's a saw blade there. It's going to be under the dirt, and you would just walk right past it. You would have never even known it was there. And 500 years later, it would be completely just rusted away into some rust-colored patch under the dirt, right?
Mhm.
And so to me, there is a possibility that there was a civilization that was basically as advanced as we are now, because we haven't evolved really in that 12,000 years. There have been like subtle advancements in our evolution, but we haven't evolved over that period of time. So there were people that were just as smart as we were back then that could have figured out, well, here's how the electricity goes into the thing, and and
I gotta interject though, like I love how everybody's like, there could have been people as smart as we are back then. There could have been people just a whole ton ahead of us. Like, who's to say they didn't already have those flying cars and such? Like,
well, they might
melt the planet down their darn selves. They had a gravity ray and they accidentally pulled the meteor and blew themselves out. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well,
Indians had explosive ammonia.
Like,
Right.
could there have been another civilization? But like,
Oh,
we
it's-
aren't
it's-
necessarily as
it's
far
real.
along in development as we like to think. Or
No, Shana, you're on the money. You're on the money. Like the Indians talk about Vimanya, like these flying craft, and they're not in India. They're not talking about it as if it's a fairy story or whatever. That's history. Like,
right. But we
you
can't rely on the like spoken word from something that happened 15,000 years ago. I
wasn't
can't rely
spoken, it was
I
written.
can't rely on the spoken word from something that happened 150 days ago, right? When somebody's like, "My God, man, I crashed my car because of you know."
Yeah.
Somebody recounting something doesn't really work. But like, we do have bones and we do have evidence of like how evolved the humans were, right? And what ultimately my point is that I think a lot of their technology could have easily just been washed under the dirt. Now, if they did have interstellar travel or something like that, there would most likely have been a quick return, right, to the planet. And when I say quick, I mean you could go fly around real fast and come back 1,000 years later by traveling through space, because we do know that your aging is decelerated the faster you fly around and the more you fly around in space. We do know that. We have experimented with that, and we know that works.
So weird. That is, how is that even, like, how little we understand about how everything works. Like, so we're really, time actually bends. Like, we can manipulate it with things that are within our control. We can change how the human being ages. What?
It's
Like,
not necessarily. It's not
that's
necessarily. It's not necessarily we can change how humans like age or whatnot. It's the movement of a person through space, right? Is moving at a different speed that we are, essentially experiencing time in a different manner, right?
Right.
And we can't necessarily like do that with our technology we have now. We've made measurements to people have recorded measurements to know that, like, okay, this theory does seem to pan out. Now, we don't know it for 100%, because the big issue would be if you flung somebody out into space and then they came back and 10 years had gone by or whatever, and you're trying to make a measurement on a person and be like, it seems like they've only aged 8 years, right? Like, we don't have the technology to send somebody off at 100 light years a second or something, right? Like, we don't have that. But we do know that, like, theoretically, if you did have that technology, you could, air quote, time travel by traveling around space at a very fast speed, and we would continue to experience our time the same. They would just show up like 50 years later and be relatively unaged, right?
G'day, Paddy. G'day, Joel G. I heard. I think it was Dr. Carl on the radio the other day was saying about how Usain Bolt, when he runs really fast, he actually slows time down for himself by microseconds. There's some crazy scientific theory that seemed to make sense when Dr. Carl explained it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, it's like, have you ever seen him in a race where he actually slowed down to look at the other guy? There are races where he's done that. He's running full speed and he's so far ahead of the other guy. It's through a high speed camera, right? They slow it down and they see him. He stops running as fast as he possibly could, and like kind of takes on like a jogging,
Bloody show off.
and still wins, like while looking at the other guy. And you're just like, I don't know what those dudes are thinking right now, but I cannot imagine that you're super happy about what just transpired.
Solid point, Andy. The gravity of Earth affects time. Absolutely.
Hey, Z-Beam, do you from your house, do you hear all of the heavy machinery that operates out the back of my house at the moment, or the last few weeks?
I'll open the door. Not over my fish pump. No, can't hear it.
Andy, I've had the joy of the lovely background ambience of heavy machinery doing serious logging out the back of my joint for about a month and a half now. They've been back at it 5 days a week, 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. It's a beautiful background noise. So serene.
Sounds painful.
Yeah. But, you know, they're getting rid of camp florals, so that's a bonus. I just have to endure.
Oh, that's that smelly stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a nice, strong smell to it. Well, not necessarily a nice, strong smell to it, because it can be quite overpowering.
When I ever think, I don't think we have any smelly trees up here so much, but I think arborvitae is probably everywhere. Arborvitae, but not so much the up and down stuff, the flat kind that smells like cat pee.
Yeah.
It's like popular.
Cat pee. Yucky.
What are you talking about, Cat? Oh, is Cat talking about tree loppers near her joint too?
We have to remember that time is only, and I mean only, an Earth concept.
How do we know that?
That's not true, because I think what you're trying to explain is that the way that we perceive time on Earth is our only perception that we are able to perceive, right? But that doesn't mean that there wouldn't be other entities or whatever in the universe that are experiencing a time, right? Like, time is essentially just a measurement of movement through space. That's all we're basically doing. We utilize the sun and the rotation of the Earth. That's how we track time elapsing on our planet. And it would, I think it would be a little obtuse to believe that like other, I don't know, whatever beings out there, you call them aliens or whatever, wouldn't have a concept of their time, right? So the big thing is that it's not, I wasn't describing time travel. It would be considered a form of time travel as perceived by humans on Earth, that somebody would have gone away for a long period of time and returned without aging at the same rate in which we were aging. But you would also have to like make some kind of measurement to come up with that of
it's like in that
what they have experienced versus what you have experienced. What's that?
Did you see that airplane show where the flight disappeared? Nobody this is really dumb. It was a really dumb show, but it's like what you're talking about. Yeah. The plane drops off out of nowhere and then everybody comes back. And
yeah, like 5 years later or whatever.
Aged, but everybody else has.
Right.
That's what you're sort of describing is these people go off into space and then when they come back, they're the same age, theoretically, whatever, or less.
Like our perception and elapsed time would have not changed. Ours would have been the same. But to the people that were hurtling through space at whatever accelerated speed, it would have, their perception would have been different. And the amount that they would have aged would have been lessened. Now, the amount that comes to be is like, well, you know, who knows? I could go find a physicist and be like, do the math. And he'd be like, well, theoretically it would look like this, but also there would be other effects from
Variables.
flying around in space. So they might have muscular decay, they might have bone decay, they might have all sorts of strange things happening to them from flying
Atrophy.
around in space, atrophy. But essentially, they would have experienced a lessened time. But also, maybe humans just die if you travel that fast. I don't know. There was a point in time when humans were concerned about traveling 100 miles an hour because they thought your skin would peel off. Right? So,
Yep, we're
which is
flying,
true.
God
You can go look
forbid.
that
And
up.
you said humans haven't evolved in the last 12.
They were worried. They were seriously worried about ellipsing the 100 mile an hour barrier because they assumed that your flesh would peel off, right? So
All right.
yeah,
That might seem silly and all, but I also remember when we were freaked out about 2000. And remember how we all lost our minds and thought it was like, we all make our hiccups.
it's not necessarily we all freaked out about the year 2000.
I laid out a blanket on
I
a picnic.
didn't, but
Y2K was, hey, we have a bunch of stuff that operates on a computer system that may or may not hiccup
Make
extraordinarily
this guy.
for a certain period of time, right? I don't. All I did was get drunk and party. That's all I did, and I woke up the next day, and I think I went to work. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really matter to me. It was like, I guess if the power's out tomorrow, the power will be out, and I'll figure out what to do about that then. But
my favorite quote about time from television is from The Young Ones, believe it or not, when I believe Rick
I
Rick
love that show.
grabs Mike by the arm, looking at his watch, and says, "Oh my God, is that the time?" And Mike says, "No, that's a wristwatch. Time is an abstract concept."
right.
Nice.
Or actually, it's the other way around. He says, "No, time is an abstract concept. That's a wristwatch."
That's a wristwatch. Yeah,
Damn, I hate it when I stuff up the delivery.
it works. Spoiler alert. You got a spoiler alert, You're going to ruin the joke. Someone's going to go back and watch it, and they're going to rue the day.
Young Ones is rewatchable over and over and over and over again.
It is quite good. It's like up there with the Red Dwarf, It's like it's got a timeless comedy to it.
Yeah, I rate it higher than Red Dwarf.
I remember watching it in high school, and it was old enough then to be out on cheap DVDs. It's like if I feel like the spoiler time frame has
Elapsed
expired.
slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still got
Yeah,
a
it was-
spoiler alert.
Very early 80s.
I mean,
I
we
call-
could have
I
spoiled.
call
We could have spoiled Gone with the Wind earlier, and it could have just ruined someone's life.
I called my
Dragon Lair says I miss Red Dwarf, but there's new episodes of Red Dwarf. They
Yeah.
have returned.
I
It was
called my
like
pen
10 or 12 years between the recent series and the previous one. Sorry, Beam, go
That's
ahead.
right. I called my pet cockatiel Vivian after Vivian the punk.
Say that again.
I had a pet cockatiel, one of those budgies with the crest.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a native Australian bird, but it was hand raised, and he would free fly around the house, and we had whistle communications, and it was a really cool pet to have. Such an awesome little critter. He was called Vivian. I miss him dearly.
Vivian and his hang on, let's do a quiz in the chat. What was the name of Vivian's pet hamster? Won't give too long before I spoil it, because it's a pretty fun name for a hamster. A hamster that, spoiler alert, ultimately got stomped to death by Vivian. Nah, no one knows, do they? Special Patrol Group.
Special Patrol Group.
That was Vivian's pet hamster's name.
The other show I used to watch with young ones was Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I feel like
What did that have to do with the young ones?
that would be legit.
There is a remake of Mystery Science Theater.
Okay, yeah. I mean one where I get to be on it.
Oh,
That's kind of what I mean. I really want to be on that show.
well, I mean, we could schedule watching a terrible movie and make fun of it.
Can we watch? Well, I don't know if it's terrible enough because I also wrote the movie, but Snakes on a Plane.
Snakes on a Plane.
It's
I mean,
so
it's like
good.
it's
so bad.
It's
so
yeah. I
bad,
mean,
but it's so
just,
good.
it was like, but here's the problem: it was intentionally made to be bad. So it's
Yeah,
like
they were
making
making movies as torture from an evil overlord, right?
It was like a social experiment, I think. How much money can we make by putting a piece of shit on the screen?
yeah. That's more of how.
Sam Jackson made bank from it. That's all that matters.
Oh, that's right. Mystery Science Theater had Patton Oswalt on it for a while. Yeah, there's a bunch of different versions of Mystery Science Theater. I've forgotten about all this. Yeah, I don't know. I remember watching Mystery Science Theater with my friend Joe when I was a kid, and we definitely liked it. And it's come back so many times that I don't know. I don't know if it ever was really going to catch a second wind, because they watched movies that were so bad that it was like almost
Sharknado.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah,
movie.
but
All of
Sharknado
those
was
ones.
made to be a bad movie,
Very tongue in cheek.
Yeah. I
It's,
think the reality
How about
is
some
I think
direct-to-DVD?
I think what you have to do, well, yeah, Sharknado was intentionally made as a joke movie. Like it's the whole concept in the movie itself is a joke. Like it's making fun of itself. So I don't know. I feel like if you're making fun of something that's making fun of itself, it's like, I don't know.
You're
I
only
think
making fun of
it would be
yourself.
funner. It would be funner to poke fun at Jurassic Park. That movie was intentionally made as to be a good movie, and it won a ton of awards. And if you go back and watch it now, you're like, "Oops, oopsie doopsie." There's a lot of oopsie doopsie in that movie for sure.
The Stuff to Blow Your Mind podcast. They do an episode each week called, I can't even remember what they call it, but it's always about a dodgy movie, and they make a hell of a lot of references to Mystery Science Theater each week.
Yeah. Well, the big issue with Mystery Science Theater is like licensing the movies. So essentially what they do is they watch movies that are so old, nobody owns the copyright to it anymore. And so it's like you could watch it and you're like, wow, this is a terrible movie. It's like it's pretty clear why nobody like reinstated their copyright on it, because no one was ever going to watch it or whatever.
They only earned $13 in the first 50 years.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you could go back and do that. I don't know if it would get traction. And then, so the big problem is that like if you watch new movies, like somebody's carrying the copyright on that, right? Like if you wanted to go back and make fun of Jurassic Park and watch Jurassic Park and then do like a making fun of each scene by scene or whatever, you would just get a copyright strike, for having done it. Like people would just claim it, and you're like, well, I guess this is kind of pointless. But then, even if you tried to like approach and get a movie licensed ahead of time, the movie companies have no reason to like allow you to do that, And
just
if you had
the
that
sheer generosity of their heart,
if you had that kind of money already, like what's the point in doing a podcast, right? You know what I mean? If you're like, well, we spent $750,000 getting the license so that we could watch this movie and make fun of it, and we made $13.48 in super chats. Booyah! They're killing it,
And
You just
3
be
extra
like-
people joined the $2 Patreon tier.
That's right. At $2.
Joel, I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen my channel, but clearly I am not doing it to make money. My ideas are just for shits and giggles.
No, I'm just speaking pragmatically about like
Yeah.
doing
I
a
just
Mystery
think it'd be
Science
super
Theater.
fun.
So it's like doing a Mystery Science Theater would be fun. Well, the problem is that like if you make a channel and then you put work into it and then you do a thing, they'll just copy strike your channel, which then, like, I don't know, let's say a bunch of people like what you're doing and they start following your channel. They just, once you get enough strikes, they just delete your channel. So then all those people just escape off into the ether and they're like, well, we can't even watch that project anymore, because then you got to like email them to tell them like where your new channel is, so where you're going to get a copyright strike again. So I'm all for it, but I've thought about it in the past and was like, well, I don't even know if you could physically do it unless you like already worked for that company or something. I don't know. It'd have to be like an exec from Warner Brothers or something that decides to make fun of their old catalog.
I think if you use some paid AI rendering software, you could use artistic license as an excuse to recreate scenes of movies and get away with it. But like
the one thing I thought about was you could potentially like watch the movie with the podcast person that you're doing it with, riff back and forth and make fun of it, but you'd have to queue up the audience to when you hit play on the movie, right?
Yeah.
So you could probably do an intro and then be like, everybody get the movie ready, and you got to watch it and watch this at the same time. Here's the big issue. Here's the big issue. People are super lazy. People are so lazy. People are so lazy. I mean, if you wonder why people are lazy, just ask yourself why pizza delivery is so popular, right? Like, that's how lazy people are.
In this day and age, like it's more feasible because I saw a video documentary on Bauhaus's Bela Lugosi's dead, and the video says, okay, you found this video, stop what you're doing right now, set up your Bluetooth speakers or your hi-fi system, cue up the song, get it ready, and we'll do a countdown, and when the countdown's done, you press play and you watch the video at the same time. So you're hearing the audio through good audio channels at the same time as watching the YouTube video on your computer or on the TV or whatever.
Right.
And if you pull it off, like if you get your timing right, it works so well with my Bluetooth speakers, having the song play at the same time in the background. And it was kind of nice. It was like a recipe. You had the on-screen talking about this, about the topic, and the audio coming through a different medium, a better quality medium, and it works. So it has been pioneered, and it's doable. It's feasible.
Yeah. I mean,
plenty
it's
of
a thing,
podcast
it's a thing
channels
you can
do
do,
watch-alongs.
There are a bunch that do that, but like people are just not motivated to even bother, So
some of the podcasts that I follow, if they do a watch-along movie, I don't do that episode.
Right.
Yeah, Dragonlair, we did a whole like 7 or 8 minutes on that subject earlier in the show about people who call out all the BS in movies and ruin movies for those around them.
That's me.
I just got tired of ruining the movies for myself. So now whenever I see that stuff, I just chuckle and say, oh, yeah, script says, and then I let it go and keep it moving. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but apparently the script says so. And then I rejoin the movie.
You pay your money to be entertained.
In the mental health world, that's called intrusive thought. And you must learn how to discard intrusive thoughts because they are the bane of happiness.
Oh,
I thought that was high standards.
I don't know. I just value my time, and I don't like it when people disrespect my time.
With bullshit. I think as an Australian, we love our bullshit.
If something is strictly entertaining, as somebody mentioned earlier, Springtime for Hitler, right? If something is strictly entertaining, such as Springtime for Hitler, I'll be entertained and have a joy, right? Yeah. You guys mentioned that you don't like Tim Minchin, right? I've listened to a couple of his stand-ups, special things, and I thought that there were a couple of jokes in there. It was like, but there was a lot in there that was like, All right, that's pretty funny. All right, I can get behind that.
He is a funny guy.
You know,
my
and it's the
biggest
same
problem
thing,
with him
like-
is that he spent too much time in England, so now he's got this fake English accent instead of
he
embracing
has
his
a
Australian
bit of a
accent.
wacky accent. Yeah, it's true.
He lived
it's
in
hard,
the UK for too long.
hard to place that accent. It's sort of from transatlantic or something. I'm not 100%, but yeah, it's but like it's the same thing with like Bill Burr, right? You go like 90% good, 10%, not the best, but you got to kind of
It's
bridge.
hilarious.
You got to bridge to the next joke, right? But
Yeah.
hey, you're hitting 90%. That's pretty darn good. I'm entertained and I'm
happy
laughing.
if I hit 70% at my job right now.
I'm just saying,
90%,
like,
killing it.
if you're being strictly entertaining, like that's all good. If you're telling a story and there's like incongruity in your story, it's like when you go to tell a joke like Bill Burr, but you just tell the punchline first and then a couple other sentences and then just throw some other shit out there and then be like, everyone should laugh right now. And you're like, why are you telling me to laugh? You did it wrong. You know, like, you can't tell me, you can't inform to me that I shall be entertained whilst you told your story incorrectly. Like, okay, but like, I'm not being entertained anymore. I'm now being irritated and not laughing, for instance,
Okay, Joel.
at a
I
comedy show.
literally went on a date one time, and at the end of it, he looked at me and he said, "You had a good time." I was like,
Right.
I
Hey,
feel like saying,
Shanna, why don't you just suspend your disbelief? Hey, excuse me. Excuse
Was
me.
the guy a Hollywood
Excuse me.
actor?
Be entertained and suspend your disbelief. You had fun on
You
that date.
had a
You were
good
told.
time.
You were told.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wonder how many times that worked for that dude.
Right.
Oh my god!
So
It
you know,
was
but
the
like
same guy who
in
Go
the
ahead.
Bill Burr sphere, right? Like we went to go see Joe Rogan, right? We went to go see Joe Rogan live. We went to the show. He spent a lot of time physically stretching on stage and sweating a lot while telling jokes that he'd already worked out on his podcast. It was like, I already know this joke. He's already talked about this on his podcast. So if you watched his podcast, you're like, I know the punchline to this because he's dropped it in conversation on his show that he is publishing, right? So it's like, I'll never go see Joe Rogan live again because it's like, well, I know what all the jokes are going to
Yeah,
be.
you're
If
not
you
going to get the fresh comedy.
like, it's not going to be any good. But his opener was Tony Hinchcliffe. Tony Hinchcliffe did a half an hour set that cracked me up the whole entire time because he was at least smart enough to protect his material from escaping onto podcasts, right? And it's like, well, we paid for the tickets. It was kind of worthwhile to pay for the tickets to go see Tony. That was worth it. But here's the deal. Next time Tony comes to town and headlines something, we'll go see that. But if he's like opening for Joe Rogan, like probably not, you know? And it's just like the date that Shanna went on where she was informed that she had a good time. Like Joe Rogan fans would be like, you had a good time. It was funny, you know? And you're like, it wasn't funny because I already knew what the jokes were going to be. Like, so yeah, I mean, I like was expecting something like really polished and really good and not already escaped on your own show. Right. But
no.
Do you ever
no,
listen?
that's not
Do
what
you ever
was
listen to the Kill Tony
Yes, yeah.
podcast or the YouTube videos?
what is it? The kill stream or whatever?
Kill
Yeah,
Tony. It's
Is it- oh.
painful to watch because they're just so brutal at these comics that are coming up
Yeah.
and trying their stuff out. They're so harsh sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's brutal.
Most
I've
of the
watched some
time.
of his stuff and everything, but you know, like as far as I'm pretty critical of Joe Rogan, but also congratulatory of Tony Hinchcliffe doing like a seamless, awesome, like 30-minute
His
set.
comedy is awesome.
That was just like most of the jokes were like I fucking did not see where that was coming from. Like, oh, that came out of left field and connected, like, and made sense. It was just like I was not even thinking about that at all. Like, you got me good.
Yeah, he's very good.
You know, so But that's the thing for me when it comes to like film, movies, TV shows, and this kind of stuff. Like my time is valuable, and it's like you abused my time. Like
And
the
made me
amount
pay
that,
money for it.
yeah, the amount that I get to exist is finite. It's like, like Vicky knows that like Tuesday night we do the podcast thing here. And I just come shoot the shit with you guys. It's like I respect my time. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to do that on Tuesday. But if I came on here and you guys were like, well, today we're just going to talk about the wind blowing through the trees and the trees were windy and there was a thing. And you'd be like, well, you talked about the wind in the trees last week and you just keep doing it over and over again. I'd be like, well, I don't know if this is weird, right?
Everyone loves the wind and everyone loves the trees. That's all we want to talk about.
Right.
What
But
How long ago did you see Rogan and how much were his tickets?
I mean, it was probably 5 years ago. Probably 2017, 2018, maybe. Probably like that, something like that. Yeah, because we were down in Tacoma then.
And
And
ticket cost?
or maybe we were in West Seattle. They were not cheap, I'll tell you that. And there was a lot of bro chads. There was a lot of bro chads.
No doubt.
They were definitely drunk and high. There was a lot of consumption going on.
Because Tom Segura is going to be down here in Australia in January, and he's one of my favorite comedians. But his tickets are like just under $100, and I don't know if I can justify it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pair of tickets was not cheap. I think it was like 120 or something. Like there were bad seats too. We were up in the balcony, but you don't need to be close for a comedy show. Like,
Yeah, they generally have a big screen or two, and that.
I mean, you could see them. They're on stage. They're right there. The where they were at is like a big. It's a theater where they do like the opera and stuff. So you can. It's like you see right there. So
In the round,
well, not in the round.
in the box.
Because in the round is that round stage thing that rotates. But I don't know. Needless to say, that was some years ago, and it was expensive. And that's the thing. I value my time. Money equals my time. Like I have to spend my time making money, and I have to spend it. And on top of it, they're also getting some of my time with my attention, right? So it's a double whammy in my book. And it's like if you fail to even meet the criteria of your own thing that you've made, then it's that bummer to me. It like bums me out. It's not so much like I'm not like mad or anything. I make fun of it because that's sort of my personality is to poke fun and be crass at things. But like, I'm more like bummed out. Like, man, I just wasted like 3 hours of my life and I'm not getting it back. So I could have been eating ice cream because ice cream is just.
I could have just listened to a free episode of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Because ice cream is just like Rick Astley. It's never going to give me up. It's never going to let me down.
I thought you were going to say it's going to give you rolls.
It's never going to run around
Fat rolls.
and desert me.
Bet it will desert you.
Desert you.
You.
What?
Yes, Shanna. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah. I had a Kit Kat today. It was delicious. All right, guys. I got to go to bed. I got to work in the early morning. So pleasure as always.
I am what?
May Morpheus grant you good dreams.
I'll probably have a blank slate tonight. I'm pretty tired. So I'll probably just wake up suddenly when the alarm goes off.
Oh.
Shanna just bailed. She bailed on you guys.
Obviously doesn't like goodbyes.
All right. Well, I'll see you later.
All right, dude. Take care.
That was swift.
Can't even get my goodbyes out of the way. Jeez.
Oh.
Yeah. Good night, Shanna. If you can still hear us.
Nice being on screen with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna close it down anyway because I'm busting and I've got to put a casserole in the slow cooker and get some laundry off the line before it gets the night air on it.
Okay.
All right, thanks heaps everyone for hanging out with us. It's been a longest one we've done for a while, I think, by the look of that clock. Thanks Huawei for slinging links. GRB, if you slinged links. Thanks to you as well. I wasn't watching the chat the whole time. Thanks everyone for hanging out this long. Of course, if you've been here since the first minute and you're still here, you obviously are some kind of lunatic. Replay team 6, kudos out to you. If you made it this far on the replay, well done to you. You deserve a medal. If not, just a bucket of kudos will do, I'm sure. And everyone else who's been watching, don't forget to check out Babyface Bren channel for our other show about comedy Bang Bang. Obviously not comedy. Improvised comedy is not everyone's cup of tea, so you might not be into that one much, but I certainly enjoy it. So yeah, get over there, check that show out, and until next week, we'll see you when we's looking at yous.